I think I like her. Whereas we say, I love ice cream. This is something which is basically wrong with all of us. Because love is basically a decision, a discipline. That's why we are living in a times where breakup has become a very normal word. We cannot be finding fault with our height, with our color, with our complexion, with our weight and things like that. These were the scars made by his father when he was drunk. He used to come home drinking, light his cigar and put the butts on the back of this. In the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. From the Gospel according to St. John, chapter 15, verses 12 to 17. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. Greater love has no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. You are my friends if you do what I command you. No longer do I call you servants, for the servant does not know what his master is doing. But I have called you friends, for all that I have heard from my Father I have made known to you. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you that you should go and bear fruit, and that your fruit should abide, so that whatever you ask the Father in my name, he may give it to you. This I command you, to love one another. Dear friends, I wish all of you God's blessings, especially on this day when we celebrate love on Maundy Thursday. This is a day the Lord instituted the Eucharist. This is the day he instituted another important sacrament of priesthood. And again, today, the whole church celebrates the theme on love. And I think love is the most used as well as misused word. What is love? According to St. Thomas Aquinas, a great philosopher and theologian of the church, love is willing the good of the other. Love is wishing the good of the other. It's willing the good of my neighbor. This is one of the beautiful explanations which I've used in various talks. Love is not just a bunch of feelings. It is a discipline. It's a decision. We somehow portrayed our heart as a seat of love, and we always glorified heart, saying this is the place from where love is born. It is not just feelings alone. It is a rational decision. Jeremiah 17:9, the Lord says, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately corrupt. Who can understand it? Somehow we have always glorified heart as a part of the body, which is very noble. But my dear friends, the Lord says this is deceitful because it is full of feelings. We cannot all the time trust our heart because it is a bunch of feelings. Because love is basically a decision, a discipline. We need to love people even if you don't feel like loving that person. Dear friends, in today's context, we have shifted the priority. We started liking people and loving things. That's why we say, I think I like him. I think I like her. Whereas we say, I love brownie, I love biryani, I love ice cream. This is something which is basically wrong with all of us. We have started shifting our priorities. We started liking people, loving things. Once this set people, I'm sure once we start putting this in right perspective, start loving people, liking things, this will settle a lot of our own problems also. That's why we are living in a times where breakup has become a very normal word. Everyone says breakup, and the couples, especially today's youngsters, this is one of the often used words, breakup. But the real love cannot be broken, because love is a commitment. Love is a covenant. Once my beloved and I get into this covenant, this commitment, there is nothing called breakup, because it is not just a bunch of feelings. I am not getting along with you. Things are not working with you. This is not, things will not work. It will not work by itself. We have to make things work out for us. And that is the challenge of love. Now, why should we love? It is because the Lord has commanded us to love. He has created us in this world to love the others. He has created us to love Himself. Why should we love? It is simply because the Lord has commanded us to love. It is not optional, it is obligatory. We come across various people in our everyday life, and therefore we need to love people. It is a commandment. Whom should we love? We do not go choosing people to love. Rather, people come into our lives and we need to love them. This is the biggest challenge in love. That is why love is the most difficult virtues to follow. What are the types of love? Love of God, love of neighbor, love of oneself. This is the order of priority. But for a reflection, we'll go in the opposite direction. Love of oneself. It is not exactly self-love or narcissistic tendencies. Because today we are living in a culture where the social media is promoting so much of our own selves. We take our pictures, we take selfie, and we start liking our photos. We post it on Instagram, we post it on various other social media platforms, and we want people to like them, and we share it and all that. But love of oneself is not exactly self-love. It is appreciating oneself. It is being very comfortable in the presence of God. None of us are surprised to God. God has created each of us with a particular purpose. We are not here by accident. He has chosen us right in the womb of our mother, even before our conception. And that is why we need to be comfortable with our own selves. We need to accept ourselves with a certain amount of good, proper self-image. If you don't have the self-esteem, I think this will reflect on the others as well. You know, people who do not have a right self-esteem, right self-image, develop a strong sense of insecurity, inferiority complex and things like that, which could create a lot of havoc to themselves and to the others as well. That's why we see in our everyday life, people who are insecure, they will be getting troubled all the time, anywhere for that matter. Take it in families, especially when you have the in-laws and the daughter-in-law seems to be more smart, mother-in-law gets very insecure and starts finding fault. And even in the religious communities, if there is someone with certain amount of leadership skills, the superior of the community gets so insecure and all the time tries to find some fault with that particular person. It is everywhere, be it in institution or in the families, everywhere. People with this insecurity, inferiority complex will try to find fault on the others and try to put them down and things like that. Whereas when we have a right image of ourselves, a good self-image, this will promote good culture in the place where we live. We cannot be blaming ourselves because God has created us with a purpose. We cannot be finding fault with our height, with our color, with our complexion, with our weight and things like that. We need to accept ourselves and we are good in His presence. In the presence of God, we are looking good. And we need to be comfortable with our own selves. That's why if you don't love yourself, who on earth will love you? This is the biggest challenge. Therefore, we need to accept the fact that we have to develop a certain amount of serenity within ourselves. God has done a good job. Be happy with yourselves, with the amount of talents that He has given. Need not all the time compare with the others and start feeling bad. So this is a basic requirement to live a happy life. People who are not satisfied within themselves, people who are not having good image about themselves, people who have a lot of this inferiority complex, you will start spoiling yourself, killing yourself, and you'll also create a problem for the others and people will not like to be with you. Secondly, love of others. Once we are comfortable within our own selves, we will also find it easy to love the others. There are a few tips which I would like to share with all of you so that loving others becomes a little easier. Number one, just keep doing good in spite of getting nothing in return. Very many times we don't get anything in return. Sometimes you don't get it at all. But still, love demands that you do things just because you have to do. I'd like to say a little incident. I was in a boarding school. I happened to see a 10th standard kid's bag where he had plenty of scars. So I asked that boy, how exactly you got these scars? Was it birthmarks or something? And this little fellow was full of tears, and he told me, these were the scars made by his father when he was drunk. He used to come home drinking, light his cigar, and put the butts on the back of this little fellow, and used to suffer so much, plenty. And after a few years, I happened to go to one of the village parishes to celebrate Mass, and I see this boy there, grown up already. Then I asked him about his life, and he said he got settled very well because he was a very intelligent boy. And I asked him, what is he right now doing? He said he's just got settled very well in his life, and he's taking care of his dad, who's not really feeling good. Then I just casually asked him, he's the one who was inflicted so much of pain. How is that you're able to take care of him? And this boy smiled at me, and he just told me, Father, after all, he's my daddy. Dear friends, love demands nothing in return. You just love because we have to love. Number two, talk good things about people even if they talk bad things about us. It happens. Even in the families, you'll be saying so many good things about your spouse, and that your spouse will be talking very many bad things to someone else. It can happen. But I think we need to make it as a decision. As I said, it's not a bunch of feelings. We make a decision to say, I will only say good things about my beloved. Keep saying good things. Because I think once we keep it as our habit, a lot of things will change. Number three, don't expect others to understand your love. It is your duty, just do it. Very many times we say, I love you so much, I do so much for you, you just don't understand. You just don't understand. There is nothing called understanding. It is an obligation, it is my duty. I keep loving whether the other person understands or not. 4, try being in the company of your beloved or the ones whom you love. Don't avoid them. Don't run away from them, though you may not feel comfortable to be with that particular person, because love demands that you tolerate. Tolerance is part of love. Number 5, we can always confront people, but not with the intention of taking revenge. Most of our confrontations are just going and fighting. Confrontation is different. It is arriving a solution with the intention of making peace. Confrontation should end in peacemaking. It should not end in revenge. Therefore, once you have some misunderstanding, make it a point to clarify, confront on issues, and then make peace. Number 6, always keep in touch with people with whom we work, with whom you are asked to collaborate. Even if you don't feel like, just give them a call, respond to their messages, and keep in touch. Keeping in touch is the most important aspect of loving the others. Number 7, talk about the interests of your beloved ones and their family issues and things like that. Usual fight that happens with husband and wife is this. Husband and wife in every family come across this kind of an issue. Husband talks about his parents a lot, while he does not talk about the parents of his wife. So also the wife keeps talking about, in my house, my mom, my dad, he was such a nice man, my mom was such a sweet lady, just in front of the husband's parents. It is the other way around. You talk about their interests, talk about their families, talk about their parents. I think that will put a lot of things in perspective. Number 8, accept your beloved with their own vulnerabilities. My dear friends, I'm telling you, certain characteristics are difficult to change. Certain vulnerabilities are difficult to overcome. Once you know that your beloved has got certain vulnerabilities, certain characteristics, try accepting it. If you try changing the other person, you will end up in two things. Either you will start forcing, or you will end up in frustration. Both are not good. Try accepting the weakness of your beloved. Number 9, do not talk about the past experiences. This is something which happens in every love scenario. You go back to the past and I know what kind of person you were. I know what are the experiences you had. Now you're coming and talking like a saint and things like that. Never go to the past. People don't like to talk about their past if the past was not so good. Better to deal with the present situation. Never ever quote the past, because it is not going to create solution. It's going to only increase the tension and conflict between the lovers. Number 10, this is the most important thing. Somehow it has become a very difficult thing, though it's a very easy thing to do. Just put on a beautiful, good smile, a genuine smile. I think today people have forgotten to smile, going around with big face, frowning like this, going as if something's wrong. Your smile can create a lot of change. I think all these tips can be useful in loving our neighbors, in loving the others. I think this will help all of us to better in developing this virtue, which is the most important virtue. Love of God. This is the most important type of love. Once we are comfortable within our own selves, once we are comfortable with the others, I think it's very easy for us to love God also. It also demands few things. We need to spend quality time with God. Without spending time with our beloved, we cannot say we love that person. So this becomes the most important requirement. It can be personal prayer, it can be a community prayer, it can be a family prayer, or even just a walk thinking about God, or sitting alone and thinking about the supreme reality. We need to spend quality time with God. We also need to read scriptures to know about God. Once we know about God, it's easy to know Him also. So to deepen the knowledge on God, scriptures will be very useful. So I think we need to develop the habit of reading scriptures. And finally, the most important thing, we need to talk about God to the others.